You're still awake. Again. It's the kind of night where your body is tired, but your heart is loud. Maybe nothing specific is wrong right now. No new headlines, no sirens, no sudden shocks. Just that heavy, stretched out silence. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the crisis, it's what comes after. The stillness, the waiting, the way pain lingers in the walls, in the dust, in your bones. Maybe you're carrying fear that's older than you. Maybe the grief you feel tonight isn't even all yours. Or maybe it is and it's just too much to hold. If your mind is too loud to sleep, if your chest feels tight for reasons you can't name, I want you to know you're not broken. You're not alone. And right now you don't have to fix anything. This is a quiet space, a place where the world slows down and your story can float for a little while. Let's take a breath. Not a deep one, if that's too much, just a small, soft one. Enough to remind yourself you're still here, still surviving. Now, close your eyes if you'd like, or don't. There's no pressure. Just imagine. The air is dry and still. Not hot, not today. It's one of those rare days in Gaza where the wind doesn't carry smoke or sand. Just dust, quiet, and that low electric hum of a generator somewhere far off. You're lying on a thin mattress on a cool tile floor. The power's out again. Or maybe it just never came on today, but nothing exploded, nothing collapsed, no one shouted. The sky didn't rain metal, the earth didn't shake. By all accounts, it's a normal day, but everything still hurts. Your back aches from the floor, your chest aches from the remembering, and your heart, it's learned to brace itself even when there's nothing coming. Maybe you scrolled for too long. Maybe you talked to no one. Maybe you washed dishes in silence and felt like you weren't really here. But the day passed and you're still breathing, and that matters. You're not a headline. You're not the one writing the story. You're just someone inside it, waiting, surviving, aching through another quiet day that still took everything from you. And if listening helps, if this soft voice makes you feel even a little less alone, you can like or subscribe, but only if it brings peace. Now ask yourself gently, where are you tonight? Are you curled up in a room you know too well? Is there a fan turning slowly above you, or just the hum of the dark? Let your jaw loosen. Let your hands rest. Turn off the overhead lights if they're still on. Let the room soften around you. Let the tension melt from your neck, your shoulders. You've done enough today, even if all you did was exist. You don't need to sleep. You just need to be safe, to be still, to be seen. Let's begin tonight's quiet story, a day in Gaza when nothing happened, but everything still hurt. Hey guys, tonight we're going somewhere quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. A kind of silence that wraps around your ribs and settles behind your eyes. Maybe you're lying there now 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. with your phone balanced on your chest, scrolling to nowhere. Maybe you've tried breathing exercises or white noise or that playlist with rain on a tin roof, but the thoughts keep knocking. Maybe it's anxiety. Maybe it's the kind of tired only trauma knows. The kind that loops. That won't shut off, won't slow down. Or maybe you're just lonely in a room full of your own furniture. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake to the sound of stillness, which is strange, because silence here isn't absence, it's weight. You feel it before you open your eyes, dry in your throat like dust that settled while you were dreaming. If you were dreaming, you blink once, twice. There's a shape on the ceiling, a crack like a branch or lightning that gave up halfway. You've stared at it so many times it feels almost alive. You trace its lines while your mind boots up slowly like an old computer with too many open tabs. Today is like every day. You swing your legs off the cot. The floor is cold, not because the season changed, but because the concrete remembers everything. You stand slowly so you don't knock over the cup of water beside your pillow. You always sleep with water nearby. Not because you're thirsty, but because you've learned what it's like to wake choking on a dream. Outside your window is a strip of sky the colour of old postcards. Grey with a hint of pink, like the morning's unsure if it wants to show up. You don't hear birds. You haven't in a while. But the neighbour's rooster is still there somewhere, announcing the hour like a tired prophet with no followers. You fold your blanket. You always do, even if you're the only one who sees it. It's a kind of defiance, maybe. A way to remind yourself you're still here, still human, still capable of neat corners. Your shoulders ache. They always ache. Not from injury, but from years of bracing. From sleeping curled like a question mark, unsure of the answers. You stretch. You hear your spine pop like bubble wrap, one of the few small pleasures left. The kettle on the stove is stained with years. It's not plugged in because there's no power yet. So you pour yesterday's rainwater filtered twice into a small pot. Light the gas burner with a match and wait. Steam curls like a memory. You don't rush it. There's no point. You reach for your mug, the one with the chipped edge that cuts your lip sometimes if you're not careful. You don't mind. At least it reminds you to feel something. Outside the alley begins to wake. A cart creaks. A woman hums. Someone coughs hard enough to sound like a warning. You glance at your phone. 1 bar of signal, but no new messages. That's normal. The networks have moods like old men, sometimes generous, sometimes sulking for days. You sip your tea slowly. It tastes faintly metallic. But it's warm, and that's enough. Historians still argue whether Gaza was ever truly quiet. Whether there were days, even in ancient times, when merchants passed without fear and children laughed without flinching. Scrolls from the 6th century mention olive groves and glass blowers. But even then, storms brewed on the borders of maps. A lesser-known fact during Napoleon's brief campaign through the region, one of his officers described Gaza as a city with memories older than fear, whatever that means. You like it anyway. The light outside shifts a little more grey than gold now. You wipe the steam from the window with your sleeve. The neighbour's laundry flaps like surrender flags. Your stomach growls. You ignore it. There's still time before breakfast. Instead, you stand still for a moment. Really still. Eyes closed. Breathing in. Not deep, just steady. You let your body remember the rhythm of being here, of existing, not fighting, not fleeing, just continuing. You think about bread, not in a grand poetic sense, just the practical kind. The one that comes wrapped in yesterday's newspaper, still warm if you're lucky, soft if you're even luckier. Flatbread with bubbles like moonscapes slightly burnt on one edge because the oven stones are uneven. There's a corner shop 2 alleys over, run by a man who's been 50 for as long as you can remember. He opens when the air is still cool and closes before anyone can ask why. He never speaks more than 10 words at a time, and somehow that makes him one of the most trustworthy people you know. You slip on your sandals. The left strap is fraying. You make a mental note to fix it. You won't, but the note is comforting anyway. Outside, the morning smells like dust and cumin. The kind of scent that settles into your clothes and hair, so even hours later, you'll still taste it if you lick your lips. You walk past a wall that used to be covered in graffiti, now mostly dust and ghosts of paint. One shape still survives, a dove poorly drawn, its wings uneven, but somehow noble. A boy on a bicycle zips past. He's too small for the frame feet, barely reaching the pedals. His expression is serious, as if the journey matters deeply. It probably does. Someone's boiling something behind a curtain. You smell tomatoes, onions, maybe eggplant. Your stomach reminds you again that it exists. The shopkeeper is sweeping when you arrive. He doesn't look up. You nod. He nods back. Transaction complete. You hand over a coin. It feels heavy. You hope it's enough. He doesn't count, just wraps the bread tight and neat and hands it over. There's a moment as your fingers touch that feels like church. Not in the religious sense, but in the shared understanding that this world is fragile and sometimes kindness is all we have. You walk home slower. The bread is hot in your hands, almost too hot. You shift it from palm to palm, like a gift you're afraid to unwrap. When you get back, the tea is still warm. You dip the bread in slowly, watching the edges soak and darken. It melts a little. You eat standing up. Historians say the region has been continuously inhabited for over 5,000 years. The stones beneath your feet have seen pharaohs, crusaders, Mongols and merchants with camel trains that stretch for days. All of them passed through. Most of them left scars. A strange fact, there's a tiny rusted swing in the courtyard that never squeaks. You've tested it, pushed it hard, sat on it, waited for the metal to groan, but nothing, just silence. You're not sure if that's comforting or ominous. People online talk about resilience like it's a badge. You don't feel resilient. You feel like a cracked plate that hasn't broken yet, like a breath held too long, like noise trapped in a bottle. But here's the thing, you're still here, eating hot bread and lukewarm tea in a room with one window and a cracked ceiling. And that counts. Outside, the alley gets busier. A man shouts something about potatoes. A baby cries like it's announcing the end of the world. Someone laughs, but it sounds forced. You move to your chair, the one that leans a little. You sit in it anyway because your body knows the angles now. You glance at the calendar. The same page has been up for 3 months. You haven't replaced it, not out of forgetfulness, but because you're not convinced time is linear anymore. Your phone buzzes. One notification. A weather alert, high temperatures expected. Stay hydrated. You snort softly, as if staying hydrated is a real choice. As if warnings help. As if the sun needs a permit to beat you down. There's a fan in the corner. It doesn't oscillate. You've aimed it permanently at the ceiling so the movement feels more like prayer than comfort. You lean back. You let your spine sink. You let the heat find its way through your skin. You let your eyelids drift, not fully closed, just enough to dull the edge of light. Historians still argue whether suffering repeats itself or simply mutates, whether ancient sieges echo in modern embargoes, whether grief is genetic. You don't need a thesis for that. You live it. You think about yesterday, not in detail, just a general brushstroke of heaviness, the way your chest felt too tight, the way the world seemed 2 shades too bright, the way the radio kept repeating the same 4 headlines like a broken lullaby. And you think about tomorrow, but not for long. The bread is gone now. The mug is empty. But for a moment, just a moment, you're full. You fall asleep in the chair. Not deeply, not fully, but enough to blur the sharpness of the day. Your neck aches when you wake, and there's a line from the upholstery pressed into your cheek. The fan is still whispering overhead, a steady breath in a room that forgets how to exhale. Your phone buzzed at some point, you think. A message you didn't check. You don't want to check. It can wait. Everything can wait today. When you stand your knees, make that quiet clicking sound again. Not loud, not painful, just a reminder that your body keeps a record. Every run, every fall, every night curled too tightly on a too thin mattress. It all adds up. The room is dimmer now. Afternoon creeping in like an old friend who doesn't knock. The shadows are longer, softer. You run your hand along the windowsill, warm, gritty, familiar. Someone is hammering in the building next door. Not loudly, not urgently. Just a patient tap-tap, like a heartbeat or a clock with no face. You imagine they're fixing something pointless. A door that won't shut. A shelf no one uses. But still they're fixing. That counts for something. You move to the sink. The faucet squeaks, then drips with a rhythm that would drive some people mad. But to you, it's just another lullaby. There's a small bird on the ledge. Brown. Unremarkable. But it's staring at you with the kind of intense stillness that makes you feel seen. You nod at it. It doesn't nod back, but you're not offended. Historians estimate over 70% of Gaza's population are under the age of 25. You think about what it means to grow up in a place where growing up feels optional, where you go from child to tired without anything in between. There's an old t-shirt on the line outside, stiff from sun. It hasn't fit you in years, but you keep washing it anyway. A habit, a talisman, or maybe just because routines are the last thing no one can take from you. You open the cupboard. There's a single jar of something red. It might be jam, might be hot sauce. The label peeled off years ago. You consider opening it, then close the door instead. A neighbour calls your name from below. You lean out the window, but they've already disappeared into the maze of balconies and laundry lines. You don't follow. You rarely do. There's a picture on the wall, faded, cracked. A beach. Or maybe just an artist's version of one. The sky too blue to be real, but you keep it up anyway, because even fake water is still water. You return to the chair. The seat is still warm from earlier. You wonder how many hours of your life have been spent here, not waiting, not hoping, just existing, letting the air pass through you. The fan hums louder now, or maybe the silence just got quieter. You think about a time when laughter came easy, not loud laughter, just the kind that snuck up on you, like when a plastic bag gets caught in the wind and dances like it's got somewhere to be. A strange fact: in 2006, archaeologists found ancient Roman mosaics buried under Gaza. Tiny stones perfectly arranged, forgotten beneath layers of newer lives. You wonder if someone will ever find your house and think the same, that something beautiful once happened here. Historians still debate whether Gaza's geography is a blessing or a curse, whether the coast made it thrive or made it a target. You don't argue with them. You just know the sea looks better from far away. Your eyes drift to the ceiling. A spider is building something in the corner. You're not sure if it's the same spider from last week, or if they all just look alike. Either way, you don't stop it. There's a spoon on the table. You don't remember using it. It sits like a punctuation mark to a sentence you forgot writing. Outside, someone is playing music, not loudly. A melody you recognize, though you can't name it. Just a gentle loop of notes that fits the air like soft cotton. You rub your thumb against your palm. A habit. A grounding trick. You used to do it during tests, long car rides, hard conversations. You do it now without thinking. A knock on the door startles you. But when you open it, there's nothing. Just the hallway and a piece of paper fluttering against the floor. It's blank. You close the door gently. Not because you're afraid, but because loud doors feel like shouting. You think again about bread, about tomorrow, about whether this day was better or worse than the one before. But the truth is, you're too tired to care. And that's okay. There's a breeze tonight, the kind that slips in through places you didn't know were open. It carries the scent of dust and maybe something faintly sweet like an old fig tree, or the shadow of someone cooking rice 4 rooftops away. You lie still, barely blinking, just letting it touch your face like a memory that forgot it wasn't supposed to come back. Your mattress is thin, not uncomfortable, just honest. It doesn't pretend to be soft or forgiving. It just lies there doing its job the way you do yours. You shift your shoulder. The fabric beneath you crackles faintly, like dried grass, or secrets whispered into cotton. A motorbike hums by below, sputtering like it's tired of pretending to go somewhere. You wonder who rides it. A cousin, maybe. Or a stranger who feels too familiar. Everyone does here in a way. Every voice half known, every shadow echoing something you've already seen. You press your hand flat against your chest. Just feeling. Not checking. Not hoping. Just reminding yourself you're still here. Historians say Gaza has been continuously inhabited for over 5,000 years. That's a lot of years to hold in a single place. You wonder if the soil ever gets heavy from carrying so many stories. If the dust beneath your bed remembers empires the way you remember your first broken radio. A cat yowls somewhere. Not a cute meow, but one of those deep, throaty, opera singer in distress kinds of howls. You listen, waiting for the reply. There's always a reply. Usually louder, usually angrier. You hope it's about love and not territory. But in this place, love and territory get tangled. There's an old radio on the shelf. It hasn't worked in years, but you keep it anyway. Not because you think it'll start working again. Just because silence needs a frame. You trace your finger along the wall. The paint is peeling in a shape that looks like a bird. Or a cracked map. Or nothing at all. But you trace it anyway, like you're trying to draw a way out without leaving. A curious thing in 1995, an Italian photographer captured Gaza's rooftops at sunset, every line, every antenna, every tangle of laundry glowing gold. That image never made the front page, but it should have. You think beauty without noise should count for more. Historians still argue whether Gaza's greatest suffering came from occupation or abandonment, whether being watched or forgotten leaves deeper scars. You're not a historian, though. You just know you can carry both at once. The power flickers, and you pause mid-breath. It doesn't go out fully, just dances a little like a candle deciding whether it wants to keep being a candle. You hold your breath anyway, because habit is stronger than hope. Your phone is blinking. One notification. You let it blink. Someone once told you that grief is like a second shadow, always following, rarely speaking. But it grows longer when the sun is low. You wonder if that's true, and if so, whether tonight's shadow looks different than yesterday's. A child laughs in the building next door. Really laughs. The kind that bubbles up without permission, without planning. You smile, not because it's funny, just because laughter still happens here. And that feels important. There's a bottle of water beside your bed, half full or half empty, depending on whether you're thirsty or just lonely. You listen to the hum of the city. Even when it sleeps, it makes noise. A kind of sleepwalking symphony. Cars, far off, someone coughing through a thin wall, the clink of a spoon in a glass downstairs. You stretch your legs and hear the joints creak like old wood. You smile again. You're not old, but your bones have seen things. There's a piece of paper on the floor. You pick it up. It's blank on one side, scribbled on the other. A grocery list, maybe, or a poem that lost its rhythm. You fold it neatly and place it on the windowsill. Nothing should end up on the floor tonight. You close your eyes for a second, just to check if sleep is nearby. It isn't, not yet, but it's pacing just outside you think barefoot and patient. Someone starts singing below, a low, slow melody. You don't recognize the words, but the feeling is clear. It says, "I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here." And so are you. You wake up again, or maybe you never fully slept. It's hard to tell the difference these days. Your eyes open to the same ceiling you've memorized, water stains like continents' cracks, like rivers, all part of a map that leads nowhere. You don't know how long you've been lying there. Time in Gaza doesn't always move forward. Sometimes it loops. Sometimes it sits down and refuses to go anywhere. Your body feels like it's made of stone, wrapped in fabric. Not heavy in the way you'd expect. Just present, too present. Your breath comes in shallow tides, not because you're scared, not even because you're tired, but because there's only so much air you're allowed to hold without remembering. Outside, the call to prayer rises into the sky. It's not your first one of the day, but this one feels like it's trying harder. Longer syllables, more stretch to each phrase. Like the voice is trying to reach every rooftop and whisper, "You are not alone." You are, though, kind of, at least in your head. You sit up, your spine complains, your stomach does too, but it's quieter. Hunger isn't urgent anymore. It's just another sound in the room, like the creak of your floorboards or the soft hum of a dying fan. You don't expect breakfast, not really. But your hands still move automatically, brushing off imaginary crumbs from your shirt, preparing a place on the floor, like someone might bring bread. They won't. Historians believe the average calorie intake in blockaded Gaza dipped below humanitarian thresholds more than once in the past 2 decades. That's not a fun fact, but it's true. You wonder what else has dipped. Morale, sanity, hope. There's a corner of the room you avoid looking at. Not because there's something wrong with it, but because there's nothing there. Just a blank, quiet space that dares you to dream something better. You're not ready for that. A fly buzzes in and hits the window. Again and again. You envy its certainty. It knows where it wants to go. It just can't get there. You, on the other hand, aren't even sure if there's glass between you and the rest of the world. Maybe it's just air pretending to be barrier. Someone drops a metal pot outside. The clang is sharp. Your body doesn't flinch, but your brain does that small recoil thing. Like a turtle that's learned to tuck its head in a little deeper every time. You wait for the follow-up bang. It doesn't come. Just silence. Not even birds. Even they seem too cautious to sing lately. In 2012, a British archaeologist visiting Gaza found fragments of Roman amphorae buried beneath an apartment complex. He called it a city sitting on another city. You wonder how many cities you're sitting on now. How many versions of yourself are buried under this one? Historians still argue whether daily life in Gaza counts as normal or extraordinary. Whether routine can still exist when every hour is shaped by what might happen or what almost happened. You don't care about the verdict. You just want your tea. Your knees crack as you stand. The floor is cool, not cold. The tiles are chipped in a pattern that used to bother you, but now feels familiar, even comforting. You step over a small puddle of condensation from the fridge, the kind of thing that would have once earned a sigh and a mop. Now it just exists, like everything else. You make it to the sink. No water, of course not. You already knew, but you turn the tap anyway. Because maybe this time, the gurgle that comes out sounds like laughter, not the kind you want to hear in a kitchen. You grab the tin cup from the windowsill. It smells vaguely metallic and maybe like mint. You fill it with whatever water remains in your jug. A sip is enough. It has to be. You glance out the window, nothing dramatic, just rooftops and sky. Wires crisscross like someone tried to knit the horizon shut. You watch a shirt flutter on a line. Red faded. The kind of red that used to be brighter, used to mean something. You press your forehead against the glass. It's warmer than expected. Your breath fogs it, and for a second you can draw a smiley face. You erase it before it finishes. A neighbour's radio crackles to life. Not music, not news, just static and one word repeated a few times. A name, a prayer. You try to listen, but it fades before you catch it. Still, it's something. Sound means someone else is awake too. You sit down on the floor, knees tucked up, chin on your arms. A familiar position. Not quite fetal, not quite alert. Somewhere between bracing and waiting. Your stomach growls again. You tell it to be patient. It always listens. That's the thing about hunger, it doesn't argue anymore. It just learns to wait. The morning settles in like dust, slow, fine, nearly invisible. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare, just light shifting against the wall, stretching the shadows, warming the tile bit by bit. You've stopped waiting for sunrises to feel like new beginnings. These days, they just mean you made it through another night. There's a small loaf of bread on the counter, hard around the edges, misshapen, a little stale, but bread nonetheless. You pinch off a corner, it flakes. You chew slowly, not because you're savouring it, but because it makes the act last longer. The salt on your lips isn't from the bread, it's from your skin, your breath, yesterday's tears, maybe the sea in your blood. You don't even know anymore. Once someone told you that Gaza used to be called the land of olives and honey. Maybe it still is in books or in the memory of someone older than you. But the only thing dripping here now is time, slow, heavy, full of nothing you can hold. You sit with your back to the wall, toes nudging a cracked tile elbow resting against a rolled up mat. A fly returns and hovers near your head like it wants to ask something. You don't swat it. You don't have the energy to be annoyed by things that are just trying to live. Historians say the siege officially began in 2007. You're not sure when it started for you. Could have been earlier. Could have been the day you were born. Could have been the first time you saw your father stare blankly at the radio. Could have been the last time your cousin sent a voice note that ended with laughter. Everything's too soft around the edges, now blurred like a memory pressed too often. You stretch your legs. A small plastic bead rolls out from under the mat. Red. Probably from a bracelet. Probably from someone younger. You roll it back and forth between your fingers. Tiny. Pointless. Familiar. You don't keep it, but you don't throw it away either. It can stay. Like everything else. There's a breeze now, light but real. It sneaks in through a cracked pane and stirs the corner of a curtain. You watch the motion like it's a movie. It might be the most interesting thing you'll see all day, and you're okay with that. You glance at the calendar taped to the wall. It's outdated by a few months. You haven't bothered replacing it. The cartoon on it, a sheep with sunglasses, still makes you smile. Barely. But it's something. Historians still argue whether joy under siege is resilience or denial. You don't argue, you just let the sheep stay. Outside, kids are shouting. Not the panicked kind, just play. high-pitched, inconsistent, filled with too many vowels. One voice says something about a soccer ball. Another says something about a kite. Your throat tightens unexpectedly. You haven't flown a kite in years, but you still remember the feel of the string between your fingers and the way your chest used to swell when it rose. There's a crack in the window frame shaped like a forked tree. You trace it with your finger. It splits right where your knuckle lands. You imagine if you were a character in some old novel, this would mean something. A sign, a prophecy. But here, it's just something to look at when your mind needs an anchor. You drink a little more water, lukewarm, slightly dusty, but it quiets your throat. You wonder if anyone you know has had clean water today. Probably not. Maybe. Who knows anymore? You hear a rumble in the distance. Not loud, just low, like someone dragging furniture upstairs. Could be thunder, could be something else. You don't move, you just listen. It fades. You let it go. Once a teacher told you that Gaza has one of the highest literacy rates in the Arab world. That felt like something, like proof. But even stories need paper, and even readers need peace. Your neighbour starts sweeping. The scrape of the broom against cement is strangely comforting. Steady, repetitive, like a heartbeat you can borrow when your own feels too faint. You think about sweeping your own floor. Not today, though. Maybe later. Maybe not. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to rest the seeing part of you. Behind your lids, the colours shift brown-orange, that grey-blue you get when light's too tired to try. You let your breath slow down. You let your jaw unclench. You let your shoulders fall. Historians say the Phoenicians may have once traded through Gaza, that it was a port of incense and purple dye and shipbuilders who knew the stars. You try to picture that. Wooden boats, bronze tools, someone selling dates under a striped canopy. It helps. A little. You don't need the full picture. Just one corner of it. Just one smell. Just one patch of shade. You hear the door downstairs creak open. Someone's coming in. You don't ask who. Not yet. It doesn't matter if it's family or stranger. In this place, a door opening softly is still a gift. You take one more sip of water and pull your knees to your chest. You're not cold, but it feels better this way. The breeze lifts the curtain again. The sheep on the calendar winks. Or maybe that's just the light. You're still sitting there, knees tucked to your chest when the light shifts again. It's warmer now, almost gold spilling in at a diagonal, lighting up the dust that hangs in the air like memory. The curtain flutters once more, not enough to make sound, just enough to let you know the world hasn't stopped entirely. You let your head lean back against the wall, and for a second, the whole world tilts with you. Downstairs, whoever came in hasn't made much noise. You hear footsteps, bare, soft, almost shy, padding toward the kitchen. Then a faucet, creaking water sputtering to life, then silence again. The kind of silence that follows tiny rituals. You imagine someone pouring tea. Maybe for two, maybe just for themselves. You don't feel like joining, but you're glad they did it. It means someone still remembers how to hold warmth in a cup. The call to prayer hums from a distance. Not loud, not sharp, just a soft echo carried on air, a lullaby for rooftops. You don't pray, not often, not anymore. But the sound settles into you like the voice of a grandparent you once trusted. Familiar, steady, not asking for much. You let it fill the space between your ribs. Historians agree that sound is one of the last things the mind forgets. It lingers, holds shape, outlasts names and places. That's why you still remember the way your mother used to hum while sweeping, or the exact pitch of your brother's laugh when he beat you at cards. Those are the things no one can take. Your stomach growls, not loudly, just enough to remind you that it's still part of this story. You look toward the shelf where a tin of sardines sits, unopened, dusty, slightly dented. You don't want it. Not yet. Not until you really need to. Instead, you nibble at another piece of bread. It's drier now, but still food. You chew slowly, trying not to let your tongue remember what fresh bread used to taste like. It's easier that way. You sip water after just to soften the corners. There's a faded newspaper on the floor near the doorway. Pages curled from moisture, edges yellowed. The front photo shows a boy, arms raised, eyes defiant. You don't read the headline. You've read too many, and somehow they all start sounding the same. But the boy's face stays with you. He could have been someone you knew, or someone you might still meet. You lie down back to the wall, knees bent, one arm under your head. The mat isn't thick, but it's familiar. You watch a crack in the ceiling, trace like a dried river. You've traced it before, with eyes, with thoughts. Once with a pencil until someone told you to stop. Now it's part of your ceiling map, a known place. Historians still debate whether daily boredom under siege is more damaging than bursts of terror. You could tell them boredom isn't the absence of things, it's the heavy presence of waiting. Waiting for sounds, waiting for news, waiting for something to change even if you don't know what. There's a small patch of paint on the wall that peels like bark. You touch it. It flakes gently under your finger. Underneath, just cement. Nothing romantic, just the truth, raw and grey, still holding. A mosquito whines somewhere nearby. You wave your hand once lazily. It dodges. You let it win. There's no point being at war with things smaller than you. You close your eyes again, not because you're tired, but because seeing nothing is sometimes easier than seeing too much. The darkness isn't pitch black. It's warm, fuzzy, like cloth pulled over your head. In this quiet, your mind opens old drawers, the kind you didn't know you still had. One drawer has your grandfather's watch broken, rusted, stopped long ago, but you can still hear it ticking when you remember it. Another drawer holds your cousin's voice note, the one where he said he'd come over on Friday, the Friday before the sky turned red. The drawer after that has a pebble you picked up at the beach when you were 8. Smooth, cool, yours. You hear a knock, soft, not urgent. Then a voice, familiar. Someone asks if you've eaten. You say yes automatically. They don't press. They just say okay, and the moment folds into itself like paper. Historians once wrote that humans under siege learn to hoard small joys. You think they're right. The bead from earlier, the sheep calendar, the patch of sun, the humming of pipes, the taste of old bread, the fact that someone knocked, the mosquito returns. This time it lands on your arm. You watch it. You feel it. You don't move. Let it have its moment. Let something feel nourished today. You count ceiling tiles. Not out loud, just mentally. 1, 2, 3. Skip the cracked one. 4. 5. Stop at 5. That's enough. You shift your weight. The mat rustles. You sigh. Not a heavy sigh. Not a loud one. Just enough to let the air know you're still here. You think about writing something down, but the pen dried out, and the last page of the notebook is filled with doodles. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe never. There's movement outside. A cat, maybe. Or wind. Doesn't matter. You hear it. You don't react. You just listen. You blink slowly. The ceiling comes back into focus. So does the crack. So does the peeling paint. So does the light. You're still here. The light outside begins to dim, not suddenly, but with the slow grace of a tired curtain being drawn over the sky. It's the kind of dimness that doesn't ask questions, the kind that just arrives like a friend too familiar to knock. The air, once golden, now leans into silver blue. You can't quite call it night yet, but day has clearly surrendered. Your fingers play with a stray thread on the mat. It doesn't unravel, it just twitches, resisting your tug. Like everything else here, quietly stubborn. You sit up again, not because you need to, but because your body misses motion. You stretch. Not a full stretch, just enough to feel the limits of your limbs again. The shoulder creaks, the back twinges. You welcome it. Proof of aliveness. Someone's playing music in the distance. A radio, maybe. A voice in Arabic, soft and slow, sings about a lost love, or a missing place, or both. You don't know the words exactly, but you understand every emotion. The melody is worn smooth, like sea glass. Historians agree that music during times of unrest is both comfort and protest. Here it's a little of both. The song isn't loud enough to bother, just enough to reach. You decide to stand. Your knees argue, but you hush them. You take slow steps toward the window. The air smells different now. Dustier, cooler. A tinge of something burning wood, probably. Or maybe cooking oil catching fire for a second too long. You don't flinch. Familiar smells don't scare you. Below the street is mostly empty. One old man pushes a cart of something unrecognizable. A child hops between cracks in the pavement. Two women pass each other without words, but with a shared nod that says, still here, still trying. You rest your hand on the windowsill. It's gritty. A layer of dust over paint, over concrete, over the years. You make a lazy swirl in the dust with your finger. Not a symbol, not a name, just movement. Historians still debate whether routine helps or harms in situations like this. You could argue both sides. Routine gives you shape, but too much shape and you feel trapped inside the outline. Your stomach reminds you it's still empty. This time louder, so you give in. The sardines. You peel the tin back slowly. The metal hisses. The scent is strong salt and oil and preserved history. You don't love it, but you eat. Each bite is a small act of survival. Each swallow a soft defiance. You eat half. Leave the rest, just in case. Always just in case. You sit back down cross-legged now. The mat beneath you creaks. Your spine settles like a ladder laid down gently. You lean against the wall again, this time with more purpose. You wonder what day it is. You try to count back. Was the market open 2 days ago? Did the bread man come yesterday or the day before? Did you dream the sound of the rooster? Or did it really crow at sunrise? It's strange how quickly time unbuttons, how it spills out and leaves you unsure what you wore just the day before. You look at your hands. The creases are deeper, the fingernails rougher. There's a scar on your thumb you don't remember earning, but it's yours now. A souvenir without context. A fly buzzes near your head. You swat lazily. It dodges, circles, lands again. You ignore it. You've learned some battles don't deserve your energy. You glance again at the door. Still closed, still quiet. You half wonder if it's locked. You don't check. You trust its silence more than its latch. The song on the radio has ended. Another begins. This one older. You recognize the melody from childhood weddings and car rides, and that one cassette tape someone played until it melted in the sun. You hum along, not loud, just lips closed, chest vibrating slightly. You almost forget you're doing it. Historians say people under siege often return to childhood comfort sounds, songs, rhymes, kitchen clatter. It's true. You've replayed your mother's voice reading stories more times than you can admit. Outside, a motorbike passes rattling like an overworked bee. Then silence returns. A kind of silence that feels tailored, hemmed to fit the hour. You shift again, arms wrapped around your knees. You let your head fall sideways, resting on your own shoulder, like you're borrowing your own comfort. The cat from earlier walks across the roof. You see only the tail. It flicks once before disappearing into shadow. You envy it light, sure-footed, never wondering about the news. Your eyes grow heavy, not with sleep, just with stillness. The kind that pulls after too much waiting. You breathe deep. Inhale through the nose. Hold. Exhale slow. Let your shoulders drop. Let the muscles behind your eyes go slack. Where are you right now? What time is it? Are you sitting in the dark, watching this on a phone balanced against your knee? Are you curled under a blanket that's slightly too warm, but you keep it anyway because it feels safe? Are you alone or just feeling alone? Wherever you are, you're not the only one. The world is still spinning, however quietly. So for now, close your eyes if you can. Let your mind rest, even if your body doesn't follow yet. Let the silence hold you just a little. You wake not suddenly, but like a tide pulling away from the shore. You weren't really asleep, but you weren't awake either. You were somewhere in between, hovering behind your eyes, floating in that weightless corner of time, where everything is still and nothing is urgent. Your neck aches a little from the angle it took while resting on your shoulder. You stretch it gently side to side and hear the faintest pop. It feels oddly satisfying, like pressing your thumb into old dough. Nothing dramatic, just human. The radio is still playing. Another song now. You don't know this one, but the cadence feels familiar. It's soft and looping like a lullaby played backward underwater. You let it play. You don't need to understand every word to feel its intent. Somewhere nearby, a tap drips. Not rhythmically, just enough to be noticed. You count 7 seconds between one drop and the next, then 5, then 9. It has no rhythm, just like today. You look out the window again. Not much has changed. The child is gone. The street now holds an old woman in a headscarf sweeping invisible dust from the doorstep. A man with a limp walks a dog made of ribs. The cart man sits on the curb chewing something methodically. You don't wave. They wouldn't see you anyway. You're just part of the building now. A silhouette in a square. A watcher, not a participant. You wonder if anyone ever watches you back. Historians still argue whether people adapt to prolonged uncertainty or simply learn to wait better. You think about that. Adaptation feels too noble a word. You're not growing stronger. You're just growing quieter. You rise, stretch fully this time. Your joints pop again like tiny firecrackers. You roll your shoulders, then bend forward, letting your hands dangle toward the floor. You hear your spine crack in 3 places. It's not pain, it's punctuation. You decide to boil water, not because you need tea, but because the act feels like something human, something ancient, something small that says I am still here. You fill the kettle slowly. The water from the tap is cold and metallic. You don't let it run long. Conservation is habit now, not choice. As it boils, you listen to the hiss. It builds like distant applause. You breathe in the steam. Close your eyes. Let it kiss your cheeks. You pour into a chipped mug. No sugar, no milk. Just leaves and water and time. You sit with it. Hold it close to your chest. The warmth feels like memory. Your stomach doesn't protest. It knows this routine. Warm liquid, silent room, tired heart. A recipe as old as waiting. You sip slowly. Let each swallow coat your throat. You count 5 sips before the bitterness becomes tolerable. You keep sipping. Historians note that during sieges, people often create rituals, small ceremonies of control, lighting candles, folding clothes, staring at shadows until they blink first. This is your ritual. Sip. Sigh. Sip again. A fly returns. Maybe the same one. Maybe a new one with the same agenda. You don't shoo it this time. You let it land on the edge of the table. It cleans its legs. You nod at it as if to say yes, we're both surviving. The light outside begins to shift again. Sunset. But there's no spectacle. Just a gentle undoing of blue into darker blue. The street below melts into outline. You hear a voice outside, a woman calling to someone you don't see. Her tone isn't urgent, just tired. Like she's called many times before. Like she expects silence and is already halfway to accepting it. You finish your tea. The last sip is cooler. You swirl the leaves at the bottom. They form a shape that could be anything. A boat, a question mark, a curled sleeping cat. You lie down again. Not fully, just half curled on your side. Your arm under your head, your other arm across your belly. Your breath slows. Not because you're trying, but because your body knows the hour. You don't close your eyes yet. You just stare at the ceiling. It has a crack that looks like a map. Maybe it leads somewhere. Maybe it's just paint and gravity. You hear footsteps above you. Then a chair scraping. Then nothing. Someone else is alive too. That thought alone is enough. Wherever you are right now, curled in a blanket, sitting on a floor, hiding from noise or seeking it, know this stillness is okay. You don't have to be happy. You don't have to be healed. You just have to be here. Breathe in. Hold it. Let it go. Once more. Again. And now as the city hushes and the sky folds inward and your hands find each other in the dark. Let's keep going together. You don't sleep exactly. You just drift sideways into that soft edge of evening where time gets blurry and your body remembers how to disappear without going anywhere. You're still lying there, eyes open, eyes closed. It doesn't really matter. The light from the window is gone now, replaced by a heavy kind of dark. The kind that doesn't press in, but wraps around gently, like the weight of a thick curtain brushing against your shoulders. Outside, the night is quieter than the day, which is saying something, because the day wasn't exactly loud. There's a different kind of sound now. Less people, more air. You can hear it moving around buildings through broken vents under doors. It doesn't rush. It just sighs. Over and over, like the world is tired too. Your hand rests on your stomach. You feel it rise, fall rise again. Not dramatic. Just enough to remind you that breath still happens, even when you're not thinking about it. Historians still argue whether stillness in war zones is peace, or just the pause before something worse. You think about that for a while, then decide not to. Some things don't need answers. They just need time. You sit up again, not because you want to, but because your back asks you to. The cot groans a little under your weight. The springs inside have long since given up any sense of tension. You're not heavy, but even gravity seems heavier here. You shuffle your feet into slippers, one of them is missing the heel. You've stopped noticing. To your left, a small table holds a candle in a jar. You light it. The flame stutters, then steadies. It casts long shadows on the wall, turning cracks into rivers and stains into far-off islands. You imagine a tiny ship sailing along those cracks. A ship with no name, no crew, just drifting endlessly, looking for something it forgot. Your stomach grumbles softly. It's not hunger exactly. It's just routine. The way an empty house creaks, not because anything is wrong, but because emptiness makes noise. You shuffle to the cupboard. You open it, not expecting anything new. And you're right. Same rice, same tin of chickpeas, same stale biscuits in a plastic bag with a rubber band around the top. You take out the biscuits, not because you want them, but because you know they'll dissolve slowly. Something to do with your mouth, something to mark the hour. You chew, slowly, carefully, like you're not sure if your teeth are up for it. A rat rustles somewhere behind the wall. You name him Eugene. He sounds polite. The candle flickers once, then continues. You stare at it for a while. It doesn't blink. You try not to either. A breeze sneaks in through the cracked window. It smells like night soil and boiled cabbage. You pretend it smells like ocean salt and jasmine. Pretending isn't lying after all. It's surviving. You think of home. Whatever that means now. A place, a person. A stretch of memory shaped like safety. You picture it anyway. A porch swing. A screen door creaking. A dog that always wants to sit on your feet. A voice saying your name without any urgency. You let that image float untethered. No need to grab it, just let it pass by. Historians note that during long conflicts, people dream more vividly. The brain trying to escape or trying to make sense, no one agrees. You've had dreams where you're flying, others where you're falling. Most where you're just looking for something. A shoe, a key, a door that keeps vanishing. You stare at the wall again. The tiny ship has made progress. It's now halfway across the river crack. You salute it. You whisper, "Safe travels." You don't know why. Maybe you do. You place the half-eaten biscuit back in the bag. You fold the top wrap, the rubber band. One day it will be gone, but not tonight. You lie down again. The cot has forgotten what comfort is, but your body remembers how to shape itself into less painful positions. You curl your legs up, one arm under your pillow, the other resting like an anchor across your chest. You listen. Nothing. And then something. A baby cries in the distance. Not loud, not desperate, just tired. You wonder about the mother. If she's rocking, if she's humming, if she's also pretending that tonight is easier than it is. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to listen better. The breeze returns. This time it smells like burning rice. You smile faintly. Someone's trying. Someone lit a stove. Someone is warming food for someone else. That's enough sometimes. You let that be the last thought for now. Just warmth and rice and a baby's cry floating away into the dark. It's the kind of night that folds in on itself. No stars, no clouds, just a thick velvet dark that makes the horizon feel like it never existed. You sit up again, not because there's anything to do, but because lying down starts to feel like sinking. You're not sure how long you've been in this room. 3 days, 3 weeks. It doesn't really matter. Time here moves sideways. One long hallway of sameness. Wake up, eat something beige, stare at the wall. Think about leaving. Don't leave. Your boots are under the bed. One boot has a bent sole. The other still has a clump of red mud caked to the side. You touch the mud with your finger. It flakes off in silence. You pretend the colour is from clay, not blood. You're not lying. You're choosing peace. You rub your hands together. They feel dusty. Not from anything specific, just from the air itself, which never seems to settle. You think about washing them, but the thought doesn't make it to action. That happens a lot now. Historians note that boredom during war can be more damaging than fear. Fear at least gives you something to do. Boredom just sits there with you, staring, shrinking your world to the shape of a cot and a cracked window. You move toward the door, not to leave, just to lean. The metal is cool under your cheek. Outside, the street sounds like a sleeping animal. Not dead, not alive, just resting with one eye open. There's a dog across the alley. You've seen it before. Skinny, 3 legs always sniffing. You've named it Lieutenant. He doesn't seem to mind. He limps past, now pauses, looks at you. There's a weird sort of understanding in his eyes. Like you're both stuck in the same rerun. You give him a little wave. He doesn't wave back, but he doesn't leave either. That feels like enough. Inside, you return to your chair. It creaks like old bones. You press your palms against your knees and breathe out through your nose. The candle is still going shorter now. The flame is more whisper than light. You pull your pack from under the bed. It's mostly empty now, but there's a photo inside. A real one. Paper edges worn soft. You don't look at it often, but tonight feels like a good kind of sad. You unfold it slowly. It's a picture of you and someone else. Could be a sibling, a girlfriend, a ghost. They're smiling. You're trying to. You both look like you belong somewhere. Maybe you did. You stare at it for a while. The past is blurry, but the photo is sharp. That feels unfair. You put it back, folding it carefully as if it could tear from the weight of memory. Historians still argue whether personal items gave soldiers strength or just made them ache more. You think maybe it's both, like a splinter of home that never works its way out. You eat another biscuit. The taste is worse when you're not hungry somehow. Like your mouth knows it's being tricked. You lie back down, let the cot take you. It doesn't cradle, it tolerates. The ceiling has new cracks, or maybe they were always there. They run like veins, like road maps. You trace them with your eyes, inventing names for each path. This one's the route of regret. That one leads to nowhere fast. The jagged one across the light bulb, that's the waking trail. Your breath slows. Not because you want to sleep, just because being awake takes effort. A breeze nudges the curtain. You think it's saying something, but it might just be fabric rustling. You whisper back anyway. You say, I know. You say, I'm still here. You say, not yet. And somehow, those 3 sentences feel like a conversation. You pull the blanket up to your chest. It smells like dust and old soap. Comforting in a way. Like being wrapped in a memory that doesn't belong to you. Outside, the dog barks once. Just once. Then silence again. You close your eyes. You open them. It's only been 3 minutes. You close them again. In the stillness, your thoughts start to soften, like paper soaked in water. They blur at the edges, lose their urgency. A meal you once had, a song you used to hum, the exact feeling of socks after drying in the sun. None of it means anything right now, but it all returns. Your body shifts, not for comfort, but out of instinct. Your fingers curl slightly, your shoulder relaxes, your jaw unclenches. You're not sleeping, but you're not holding on so tightly anymore. And that's something. That's something. The candle finally dies, sometime around what you think might be 2 a.m. Though that's just a guess. Could be midnight, could be morning. The air doesn't change, the walls don't move, and the room stays exactly the same, low flat and full of breaths that don't quite feel like yours. You sit up. Not because you're awake now, but because you never really weren't. Sleep has become this thing you circle around but never land on. Like circling a drained bathtub, hoping to find water. Your back aches. Your knees pop. You roll your neck and something cracks in a way that sounds final. You let it. It's not like anyone's watching. You walk 2 steps to the basin and splash cold water on your face. It's meant to wake you up, but mostly it just confirms that you still exist. The tin mirror gives you a glimpse, hollow cheeks, sunburned nose, a line of dirt above your temple that somehow never goes away. Historians call this the long wait between moments. The war becomes background noise. What fills the time instead is rust, mold, humidity that clings to your skin like guilt. You towel your face with the shirt hanging over the chair. It's not clean, but it's dry. That's enough for now. There's a journal in your bag. You don't remember why you started keeping it. Someone probably told you it would help. Most of the pages are empty. The ones you did write on are full of things like "still raining" and "we ate rice again." Deep stuff. You turn to a blank page, stare at it. Your hand hovers over the paper like it might write something on its own. It doesn't. You put the pen down. You stare at the page a little longer, maybe hoping it will write you instead. Outside, someone coughs, not far off. A dry, hollow cough, like it's coming from someone already halfway out of their body. You think about checking on them, but don't. You know that sound. It's not your turn yet. Lieutenant the dog isn't in his usual spot tonight. That bothers you more than you expect. He's always there, sniffing around, limping past being consistent. Something must have spooked him. Or maybe he just gave up on waiting for anything interesting to happen. That would make 2 of you. There's something on the floor. A beetle maybe. Or a piece of burnt rice. You poke it with your toe. It doesn't move. You decide not to think too hard about it. You sit again, the cot creaking like a rusty gate. Your whole body feels like a door that doesn't quite close right. You try to remember what day it is. You can't. The idea of calendars feels like a joke now, like you used to believe in magic, or sidewalks, or peanut butter. Historians still argue whether the loss of time during wartime is psychological or cultural. You think it's both. The days here don't end, they just stretch until they snap, then start over. You eat another biscuit. There's no joy in it, but at least it gives your jaw something to do. Your throat is dry, so you take a sip from your canteen. The water tastes like metal and old plastic. Better than nothing. Worse than everything. You go through the motions of stretching. Arms overhead. Spine twist. Toe touch. It's not for health. It's to remind your body that you still care enough to pretend. Then something unexpected happens. You laugh. Just a little. Just under your breath. Because you remembered a joke from home. Something dumb. Something about a banana and a priest and a phone that doesn't work. You don't remember the punchline. You laugh anyway. That's what it's come to, missing punchlines and loving them more for being incomplete. You look around the room as if someone might have heard that half laugh and decided you're not completely lost. But there's only the silence, and it accepts you without comment. You lie back again. The blanket covers your chest. You close your eyes. You open them. Still here. Still not sleeping. Still trying. Still human. And in this war that counts as a win, you blink slowly into the early haze of morning. Though haze is generous. It's more like the colour beige remembered what sadness felt like and smeared itself across the sky. There's no bird song, just the low hum of everything damp and tired. You hear the distant shuffle of boots, never rushing, never still, like the jungle itself is walking in circles. You sit up again. You didn't sleep. You just shut your eyes long enough for your body to stop complaining. It'll complain again soon. The cot creaks like it's aging faster than you. You scratch the back of your neck. There's no relief. The sweat never dried overnight. Your shirt is clinging like wet paper. You try to peel it off your back and only half succeed. Someone outside sneezes, loud and echoing, then curses. You recognize the voice, but don't respond. In this place, responding costs more energy than you have. You fumble in the dark for your boots. One is upside down. When you tip it over, a spider skitters out, not deadly. Not today. You mutter something to it like, "Move along, buddy," as if it's just another soldier doing his shift. Historians still argue whether soldiers in the Vietnam War were more afraid of the jungle or the things hidden inside it. You've stopped making that distinction. Everything's the same shade of maybe. You lace up your boots. They're stiff from yesterday's rain. You bend down to double knot them, and your spine makes a sound like a zipper opening too fast. You sigh, or groan. It's hard to tell the difference anymore. Outside, the light is filtering through mist, soft and pale. It paints everything in washed-out colours, grey-greens, tired browns, a little gold if you squint hard enough. You don't squint. You grab your helmet, still damp, still smells like the guy who wore it before you. You never knew him, but you wear him. The mess tent is already open. Coffee is being served in metal cups that burn your lips if you're not careful. You're never careful, and now your lip stings. The coffee tastes like scorched rain and regret. You drink it anyway. You chew something that might be toast, but it has the consistency of notebook paper. A fly lands on it. You wave it off. It comes back. You eat around it. You see a few guys playing cards. Not really for fun. Just to remember how hands move when they're not holding a weapon. You walk past them. One of them nods. You don't nod back. Not because you're rude, because nodding feels like a commitment. Someone mentions mail. It might come today. It might not. You haven't gotten anything in weeks, but still you check the list. Just in case. Your name's not on it. It never is. You think about writing a letter home, but the words feel like liars before they even hit the page. What would you even say, dear mum, still alive? Still hoping for rain that doesn't smell like old blood. You pick up your rifle. It's not heavy anymore. That's the part that scares you. You check the bolt out of habit. It clicks. You nod. A machine that still obeys you. That's rare here. You head out toward the perimeter. There's a rotation schedule. You're not on it, but you go anyway. Better to be out there where something might happen than in here where nothing ever does. You pass the chaplain. He says something about grace. You pretend you didn't hear. Your boots squish as you step into the wet edge of the jungle. Leaves brush your shoulders like shy ghosts. You duck under a low branch and it drops water down your collar. That wakes you up better than the coffee. You find your usual log. Sit on it. Watch. Listen. Wait. The radio crackles, then goes quiet. You don't ask for updates. You don't want them. Historians call this the tension between lulls, the quiet spaces between chaos. But to you, it's just your life now. You swat at a mosquito. Miss. It wins. You pick up a rock just to feel the weight of something solid. It's smooth, warm. You pocket it. Maybe it'll remind you of realness later. You hum a song, don't know which, just sounds stitched together from memory and static. Someone behind you whistles. 2 notes. It's the code for all clear. You whistle back. Just once. The code for copy. It's not music, but it's something. You stare at the tree line and wonder not about the enemy, not about the war, but whether your socks will dry by tonight. Probably not. The air smells like wet metal and damp trees. You breathe in, hold it, let it out. You are here. Still waiting, still watching, still hoping that the world remembers you exist. You press the heel of your hand into your temple, trying to rub out the headache that started sometime yesterday and never really left. The kind that isn't sharp, but sits behind your eyes like a lazy animal refusing to budge. Everything feels swollen, the air, your feet, your thoughts. You shift your weight on the log and it creaks under you like it's protesting the sameness of this morning just as much as you are. The jungle hums in a low, sticky way. Not loud, not quiet, just constant. It wraps around your skin like warm gauze. It smells like leaf mold rust and something faintly sour you can never identify. A bird calls out in a rhythm that seems almost mocking. You stare at the leaves in front of your eyes, unfocused, letting the patterns blur into an unreadable script. You think about breakfast again, or whatever that was. It always surprises you how the food can be both forgettable and slightly traumatic. They told you calories were calories, but they didn't warn you that eating would feel like chewing old memories. Someone once said the powdered eggs tasted like regret and dust. You didn't disagree. A twig snaps behind you. You don't react. It's not fear anymore. It's conservation. Your body only moves when it absolutely must. The snap turns out to be a guy from Delta Company. He grunts hello, you grunt something back, and that's the conversation. He nods at your log and you scoot over to make space. It's not politeness. It's gravity. Everything here eventually shares the same space. He lights a cigarette and offers you one. You accept even though you quit months ago, or said you did. You light it with his match the flame flickering like a tiny rebellion in all this damp stillness. The smoke coils around your nose and eyes and feels like a small kind of punishment, but it gives your fingers something to do. You both stare ahead, saying nothing, sharing silence like it's the only honest thing left. He mutters something about time moving weird. You nod. Time doesn't tick. Here it stretches, melts, recoils, forgets itself. Historians still argue whether the psychological toll of jungle warfare was more about the violence or the waiting. You know your answer. It's the waiting. The violence is short, sharp. The waiting is eternal. A dragonfly lands on your knee. Its wings are transparent, trembling. You don't move. It studies you like you might be a strange kind of tree. Then it lifts off and disappears into the thicket. You envy it in a small way. Someone calls for perimeter rotation over the radio. You hear your name. You sigh through your nose and stamp out the cigarette with the heel of your boot. The guy from Delta shrugs and walks the other way. No goodbyes. None needed. You start the short walk back, boots squelching through wet earth and fallen palm fronds. A branch swings back and slaps you in the face. You blink and keep moving. You don't even swear. It's just Tuesday. Or maybe Wednesday. You've stopped counting. When you reach the trench, you slide into your position like you've been doing it since birth. Your rifle rests across your knees. Your fingers find the familiar scratches on the metal, tiny nicks from jungle patrols, a dent from when you dropped it in a river. The guy next to you says something about a care package he got last week. Socks and canned peaches. You smile at the idea of socks so new they make noise when you move. He offers you a peach. You decline. Sugar makes your stomach rebel these days, like your body is offended by the luxury. You scan the tree line again. It's not about threat assessment anymore. It's about pattern recognition. You know every knot on every trunk, every vine that sags too low. You could draw it all from memory, not because it's beautiful, but because it's unavoidable. A light drizzle starts soft as breath. It doesn't cool anything. It just rearranges the moisture already hanging in the air. You tilt your head back. and let it hit your face. The drops find their way down your collar. You taste mud and metal in the rain. You think about your last shower. Real shower. Not bucket water dumped over your head while someone else counted. You miss the sound of faucets, of soap lathering, of towels that don't smell like mildew and compromise. Your hands tremble slightly, not from fear, from repetition. The body's slow unraveling. Historians often note how many soldiers developed tics or rituals in the field, finger-tapping, repetitive gestures, muttered prayers. It makes sense. You need a rhythm to survive the silence. Your fingers tap the stock of your rifle 3 times, then twice, then 3 again. You don't remember when you started doing that. You just know it feels like a heartbeat. You hear someone humming in the next post. A song from the radio, from before. You hum along quietly. The words are gone, but the tune sticks like fog. A beetle crawls up your sleeve. You let it. It's company. You close your eyes for a moment. Not to sleep, just to not look. Your breath slows. You are here. You are now. You are waiting again. The rain doesn't stop, it never really does. It just changes shape. What started as a soft drizzle is now a persistent pattering on your helmet, your shoulders, the lip of the trench. You let it fall without flinching. It's easier to stay still than to fight it. And honestly, you're already soaked. One more drop won't make a difference. You shift slightly and feel the squelch in your boots. The socks inside are heavy, defeated. Your toes feel like strangers' wrinkled, forgotten things that used to matter. You imagine pulling them out like over-soaked tea bags. That's the kind of humour the jungle gives you. Not sharp, just slow and damp. Next to you, a guy is fiddling with a pocket-sized notebook. He doesn't write in it. He just turns the pages like he's hoping a fresh one will change the war. You've seen guys like him before, holding on to routines like lifelines. Some write letters, some sharpen knives. Some pretend the jungle is a book you can read if you just look long enough. You reach for your canteen and sip. The water is warm, metallic. It tastes like old pennies and failed promises. But it's wet. That's all it needs to be. A sudden rustle in the bush makes both of you look up. No alarm, just alertness. It's a habit now. Reflex. Probably a bird. Or a monkey. Or nothing at all. You both exhale and go back to your thoughts. Historians say the Viet Cong were masters of silence. You believe it. You've heard silence that thunders louder than explosions. It's a skill to be invisible in a place this loud with life. You envy that ability, to disappear at will. The guy with the notebook finally speaks. Something about going home. Not if, but when. That's how you know he's new. You nod anyway. You don't have the heart to tell him most of you stopped saying when a long time ago. If is safer, maybe is smarter. You think about your home, or what used to be home. A small porch, the sound of a neighbour's dog, the clink of ice in a glass. You picture it like a dream that belonged to someone else, because right now, that version of you feels like a character in a book you only half remember. A bug crawls across your wrist. You let it. You've stopped killing them. It's not kindness, it's resignation. There's just too many, and they always come back. You hear someone laughing in the distance. Not a loud laugh, just a chuckle. It cuts through the fog like a match. You want to be annoyed, but you're also grateful. It's proof that not everything has drowned in monotony. Somewhere somebody found something funny. That's worth something. You remember a story someone told once about a guy who built a chessboard out of cigarette cartons, drew the squares with ash and used buttons for pawns. You think about how survival doesn't always look like fighting. It often looks like pretending things are normal. You adjust your position. Your back cracks. You're too young to feel this old. Someone taps your shoulder. Shift change. You hand off your post without a word. The new guy nods, sets his rifle across his lap, and takes your place like it was always his. You stand, stretch, and move with the stiffness of a puppet on rusted strings. The path back to the camp is muddy. It always is. You don't even try to avoid the puddles anymore. What's the point you pass the latrine area? You hold your breath out of respect or defense. Back at the tent, you duck inside. It smells like canvas and unwashed humanity. You sit on your cot, your corner of wrinkled tarp and flattened gear. You peel off your jacket. It makes a sound like ripping tape. The air against your wet shirt feels cold and almost cruel. You lie down. The cot groans under your weight. You stare at the ceiling like it might blink back. Historians still debate the long-term effects of extended combat fatigue. But you know one thing, it doesn't always look like shaking hands or screaming dreams. Sometimes it looks like staring at a canvas roof and forgetting your own name for a second too long. You reach into your pack and pull out a folded photo. It's faded. The edges are soft like petals. You don't look at the face anymore. Just the shape of the smile. That's enough. Someone coughs. A zipper rattles. The jungle chatters outside like a child trying to be brave in the dark. You close your eyes, not expecting sleep, just hoping for stillness. A small breeze sneaks in through the flap. It smells like something burnt. Wood, maybe. Or rubber. You don't move. You don't have to. You're still here. You wake up to the sound of boots outside, squelching in the mud with that familiar rhythm, unhurried, unbothered, resigned. It's not a shout or a gunshot or even a thunderclap that pulls you from sleep. Just boots. Just the quiet confirmation that life keeps trudging forward whether you're ready or not. You blink, not sure how long you were out. Could have been 5 minutes. Could have been 2 hours. Time doesn't mean much anymore, not here. You sit up slowly. Your spine protests like a rusty hinge. Your mouth is dry, your throat thick with sleep and mildew. The canvas ceiling above you still leaks at the edges, and the air smells like old socks and damp dreams. You rub your eyes. No point trying to look awake. Everyone knows what tired looks like here. You sling your legs over the edge of the cot and plant your feet in the mud. The camp is already stirring. Someone's boiling water over a portable stove that looks like it gave up in 1963. The flame flickers uncertainly, like it's afraid of commitment. A thin column of steam escapes from a dented kettle, curling into the wet morning air. You wander over with your canteen cup, and the guy, maybe Jenkins or Matthews or someone else entirely, nods without a word and pours you half a cup. It tastes like rust and cigarette ash. Still better than nothing. You sip and lean against a tree stump that's more rot than wood. Insects buzz lazily around you, ignoring bug spray like it's a polite suggestion. Somewhere nearby, a radio clicks on. Fuzzy music. Old pop. The kind of stuff that would have played in a malt shop back home where the air smelled like French fries and soda, not fear and decay. Historians say many soldiers clung to music like a thread to sanity. They brought tape players, tiny radios, even harmonicas. One guy in your unit once tried to build a guitar out of a broken rifle stock and scrap wire. It didn't work, but you admired the effort. Someone makes a joke about being shipped home in a box. It's dark. Nobody laughs. But nobody argues either. Humour here is like the mud, thick, dark, and always underfoot. You watch a line of ants crawl over your boot. At least they know where they're going. You hear that sound again, a distant thump. Not close, not urgent, but real. A reminder that somewhere out there, someone still remembers this is a war. You stare into the trees the way you've done 1,000 times, as if the answers might finally decide to walk out and shake your hand. But the jungle, like always, keeps its secrets. You take another sip of coffee. It's cold now. The guy with the radio is fiddling with the dial, trying to find news, or voices, or ghosts. You sit beside him. He hands you a piece of jerky. You chew it slowly. It tastes like regret and salt. You ask him what time it is. He shrugs. Nobody knows. Nobody really wants to know. Clocks are for places where things make sense. Here the sun just rises and falls like it's bored. You get assigned to supply check again. You smile thinly. Of course. It means counting boxes that never fill, logging bullets that don't exist, pretending order exists in a place where even the rain doesn't listen. You grab your clipboard, wet-warped, mostly symbolic, and head to the storage tent. Inside, it's quiet. Dust floats in the shaft of light coming through the flap. The boxes are half open, half labelled, half everything. You count anyway. You write numbers that may or may not be true. No one will check. No one cares. But you do it because it's what you're supposed to do. The illusion of purpose is still better than the fog of nothing. Historians argue whether supply lines were the greatest unsung struggle of the war. You believe it. You've seen entire weeks go by waiting for socks. You've watched men tape their boots shut with ration wrappers. Logistics aren't glamorous. They're just everything. You finish the list. You file it in the folder that's already too full. Then you walk. Just walk. No destination. You pass tents, trees, people, ghosts, yourself. You stop by a stream, not a clean one, but flowing. You squat down and watch the water. It moves like it knows something you don't. You drop a pebble in. The ripples vanish too fast. You wonder what it would feel like to disappear like that. You hear voices behind you. Someone's calling your name. Probably more busy work. You stand. You wipe your hands on your pants. You head back. Later, maybe you'll write a letter. Or not. Maybe you'll stare at the sky and wonder how long until you see a cloud that looks like home. Or maybe you'll just keep walking. Because the truth is, there's nothing to do. And everything to do. And all of it somehow matters less than the beat of your tired heart. The sun's finally punched through the fog above, not in triumph, but like someone slowly peeling back the edge of an old curtain. Dusty, tired light seeping in, stretching over the trees and half-collapsed tents. You squint. It doesn't really warm anything, just changes the colour of the shadows. A few guys have started gathering around the open area near the cooking drum. Someone's whittling a stick into nothing. Someone else is tossing pebbles at a rusted tin can. These are the games now. You take a slow breath. You're not hungry, not really, but your stomach keeps reminding you it exists. The rations today are the same as yesterday, and the day before vacuum-sealed meat that tastes like a childhood punishment, and crackers dry enough to offend your teeth. You eat anyway, out of habit, not desire. You chew and stare ahead, while someone mutters a joke about trading a chocolate bar for a flight home. Nobody laughs, but someone nods. You shift on your crate seat and glance toward the perimeter. Just jungle. It always is. Tangled green, humid, alive and uncaring. Historians write about the jungle as if it were just terrain. You know better. It breathes. It waits. It swallows. You've watched boots disappear in mud that looked solid. You've seen trees that bleed sap like open wounds. You've heard birds scream like children. Someone's coughing behind you. Not a sick cough, just that dry, constant hacking that comes from weeks of smoke and damp. You think it's Riley, or maybe Harper. You haven't said more than 5 words to either of them in a week. Not because of anything personal, just the way time bends here. Friendships become placeholders. Conversations turn into nods. One of the squad leaders walks by with a clipboard. You don't even flinch anymore. Orders mean movement, or standing still, or sometimes just pretending to be busy. Today's task, clear brush near the northwest trench. You sigh, pick up your gear machete gloves, a canteen half full of warm water, and follow the slow march of legs through the muck. You reach the trench, overgrown, vines thicker than rope, mosquitoes dance in clouds. You roll your sleeves and start cutting. Chop, pull, toss. It's not hard, it's just endless. Every vine you remove seems to grow back in your mind the moment you turn. Time passes in rhythm with the blade. Swish, snap, swish, snap. They say some soldiers in the war developed a meditative trance from tasks like this, a kind of hypnotic lull that dulled the anxiety. You believe it. For a moment you almost forget where you are. Just a hand, just a blade, just leaves, just noise. Then a root trips you and your knee hits the dirt. You mutter something soft under your breath, not quite a curse, more of a growl. You sit there for a second breathing. A bead of sweat rolls down your back. You look at your hands, mud-streaked, shaking slightly. You're fine, but you're tired. In your bones, in places that don't have names. You get up, keep chopping. Later back at camp, you rinse off with a bucket of stale water. It's not refreshing, it's just slightly less filthy. You wipe your face with your sleeve and sit on the edge of your cot. Your socks are wet. Everything is wet. Even the air feels like a damp sponge pressing against your skin. You want to sleep, but it's not time. It never feels like the right time. You write a line in your notebook. Just one. Today, I cleared brush. That's it. The page before says, today, I counted boots. The one before that, rain again. There's comfort in the record, even if no one ever reads it. Even if it's just for future you, or the version of you that makes it out. Historians debate whether journaling helped soldiers cope or made the trauma sharper. You think it depends on the day. You close the notebook, set it beside your pack, stretch your legs out. Across from you, someone's humming, a soft, wordless tune. Probably one they haven't heard in years, but remembered in a dream. It mixes with the whir of insects and the occasional snap of a branch somewhere out there in the jungle. You lean back and let your eyes close. Not sleep, not really, just an intermission. You're not sure how long you've been in this half-asleep state. Time bends here, seconds stretch, hours collapse. You open your eyes when a distant thump vibrates through the ground, like someone dropped something too heavy too far away. No alarms, no shouting, no panic. Just acknowledgement. You sit up and glance at the horizon. Still trees, still sky, still pretending it's normal. The sun has shifted again lower now, turning everything golden green like the whole jungle's been dipped in tea. It would be beautiful, you think, if it weren't so loud. Crickets starting up. A far-off helicopter that sounds like a lazy wasp. Someone fiddling with their radio, the static like soft gravel. You decide to move. Stretch your legs. The medic tent isn't far, and you remember someone mentioning a shipment of gauze and aspirin finally arrived. Not that you need either, but it's something to do. Something that feels like purpose. even if it's just looking at boxes and pretending they mean something. You pass a guy carving a chess piece from a twig, another fixing the strap on his boot with a shoelace, and what looks like bubble gum. Makeshift everything. You nod at them, they nod back. That's all the conversation needed. Inside the medic tent, the air smells sharp alcohol and plastic and rust. A young man with glasses is sorting bottles into rows. You think his name is Lee, or maybe Reed. He doesn't look up. You stand beside the supply crate, pick up a small pack of cotton, read the label, even though you know exactly what it says. You put it down. You leave. Historians still argue whether American supply lines in Vietnam were overburdened or just poorly prioritized. You know the truth. It doesn't matter when you're the one waiting for clean socks, and the guy next to you has been limping on a split boot for a month. Back outside, dusk wraps itself around the base, like a blanket full of holes. Pockets of orange sky still peek through, but the dark's coming. You feel it. Not in your bones though, that too, but in the shift of voices, the way even the loud guys start talking quieter, as if the jungle listens more at night. You head toward the far side of camp near the latrines, past a row of cots that smell like mildew and foot powder. There's a radio there propped on a stack of ammo boxes. Someone plays old Motown songs, just quiet enough to not get in trouble, just loud enough to make you pause. You stand there a while listening, a familiar tune full of longing and swing. It takes you somewhere else. A high school gym maybe, a parking lot, someone's back seat. Not real memories, not exactly. Just shadows of a life that doesn't exist here. Not in this place of khaki and steel and sweat. You close your eyes. Let the music coat your brain like syrup. For a second, your heart forgets the tension in your spine. You sway a little. Then you stop. Night falls fast here, like a light switch. 1 minute it's twilight, the next it's pitch. You grab your flashlight and walk back towards your cot, careful not to trip on the half-buried cord running from the generator to nowhere. A rat darts across the path. You don't flinch. You've named the rats. That one might be Larry. Or Sue. It's hard to tell in the dark. You pretend they're friends even when they chew through your rations. You sit, remove your boots. Your socks come off with a wet slap. You don't even bother looking at your feet. You already know what you'll see wrinkled skin grime in every crease a toenail that might not make it to next week. You lay back staring at the canvas ceiling of the tent, watching the shadows dance from the flicker of a lamp 3 cots down. Someone mutters in their sleep. Someone else lets out a long sigh that's almost a groan. You whisper to yourself, barely audible, just a few more days. You don't believe it, but the lie is familiar. It hums in your head like a lullaby made of wishful thinking and resignation. You wonder what day it is. Wednesday, Saturday. Does it matter? The calendar only exists when there's a plane home at the end of it. Here, it's just one long inhale, waiting for the exhale that hasn't come yet. You reach into your shirt pocket and pull out a folded photo. It's creased the corners soft. A face stares back, smiling, clean. Wearing a scarf you forgot they owned. You smile too faintly. Then you fold it back up and return it to the pocket like a secret. You close your eyes again, and this time you don't fight it. Sleep comes not like a blessing, but like an old friend you weren't sure still remembered you. You don't dream, not really. Or if you do, they're stitched together like bad reruns, too dim to follow, too quiet to wake you. But your body knows how to rest now. Not because it's ready, but because it's run out of reasons not to. The cot creaks gently beneath you, the canvas cooling with the night air, and you let yourself sink deeper into stillness. Outside, the bass breathes, slowly, quietly, like it's trying not to be noticed. Crickets keep their rhythm, a few voices mumble in half sleep, and somewhere distant, something heavy thuds against something metal, maybe a door, maybe a dream. You stir awake, not because of sound, but because of stillness. That eerie quiet, when your brain conditioned to tension rings, alarms just from the absence of noise. You listen hard. No gunfire, no calls for medics. Just the usual sweat-drenched air and the soft rustle of a breeze that barely cools anything. It's probably some time before dawn. The kind of hour that feels like a secret. You sit up, legs heavy shirt clinging to your back. You reach for your canteen and drink lukewarm water that tastes faintly like metal and plastic. And honestly, it's better than coffee. You decide not to go back to sleep. The idea of lying down again feels more exhausting than staying upright. So you move. Not fast, not with purpose, just forward. You step into the outside air. It's humid, sure, but there's a hush now, like even the mosquitoes are tired. The stars overhead are faint, smeared by heat and cloud. But you look up anyway, out of habit. Maybe a ritual. Maybe just to remind yourself there's still sky above this place. You make your way toward the edge of camp. A watch post. There's a guy there, helmet on, eyes half-lidded, fingers drumming his rifle like it's a nervous tick. You nod. He nods back. No words. No need. This hour speaks for itself. You sit nearby, back to a sandbag wall, legs stretched out. The ground is damp. Your pants are already stained from so many other nights just like this, so it doesn't matter. And in this moment, your mind wanders. Not to home, not anymore. That was months ago. You've already replayed that footage so often it feels like fiction. Instead, your mind drifts to the weird stuff, the little things. Like how the camp smells different when it rains, or how Sergeant Daniels once tried to make a toaster out of spare radio parts, or how you saw a butterfly land on a machine gun last week and no one said a word about it. Historians still argue whether morale during the Vietnam War broke down more because of leadership failures or sheer psychological fatigue. But no book, no lecture, no footnote ever captures that moment when a soldier watches a butterfly land on a weapon designed to kill and chooses not to move, not to breathe, just to watch. The guy on watch shifts. You glance over. He doesn't say anything, just taps his boot against the floor, like he's counting time that refuses to pass. You don't blame him. Time here is thick like syrup made of sweat and waiting. A breeze passes through the trees, if you can call it a breeze. More like a suggestion of movement. It brings with it the scent of mud, old fuel, and something green you can't name. And now you're just a shape in the dark. A shadow waiting for sunlight. There's a peace in that. Strange, unsteady, but real. You're not fighting. You're not being shelled. You're just here, breathing. Eventually someone else arrives. A replacement for the guy on watch. There's a brief exchange of murmured words and a few dry jokes. Then the old guy leaves. The new one settles in. He looks younger than you expected, baby-faced. You wonder what he's thinking. Probably nothing, or everything. The stars begin to fade as a greyness creeps into the sky. It's not dawn yet, but it's nearby. You feel it before you see it. The camp begins to twitch awake. A cough, a tent zipper, the sound of someone shaking out a shirt already soaked with yesterday's sweat. You push yourself up, joints crackling, shoulders aching. You make your way back toward the centre of camp. There's a routine waiting to be resumed, a pretend normal. Wash your face, change your socks, eat something you'll immediately regret. But before that, you pause at your cot, sit down, rest your elbows on your knees, and just breathe. There's a whisper of wind, a glint of light behind the clouds. Somewhere someone is already complaining about rations. And you think, yeah, this is how days begin here. Not with ceremony, not with purpose, just with motion, with not stopping. You glance at the photo again like you always do, then tuck it away without unfolding it. Not today. Today is for surviving again. And in this moment, that's enough. The sky doesn't turn pink. Not here. Not in this part of Vietnam. Instead, it goes from charcoal grey to a kind of soft steel dim, smeared with low clouds that never fully open. There's no dramatic sunrise, no golden light bursting through jungle foliage. Just the slow shift from night into something barely brighter. Morning, but only technically. You stretch. Not to feel better, just to make sure you still can. Your boots go on with resistance, as if they're trying to remind you they were never designed for comfort. You lace them anyway. Routine is the real armour. Breakfast is powdered eggs, cold bread, and something trying to be coffee. You sit on an overturned crate with 3 other guys. No one's really talking. Just chewing, nodding, staring out across the same patch of nothing. Occasionally someone mutters a half joke, and it gets a chuckle, not because it's funny, but because it's something to break the fog inside your head. A few meters away, the CO is mumbling with the radio operator. Maps, signals, briefing stuff. You don't listen. That's not your job. Your job is to carry the thing clean, the thing walk to where they tell you and try not to get turned into smoke. Somewhere in the near distance, an engine coughs to life. Probably the resupply jeep. It's too early for patrol, too late to pretend anyone here is still sleeping. You pick up your gear. It's lighter now, not because you've lost anything, but because your back has simply forgotten to complain. Your body adapts in silence. It stops arguing. The orders come. Routine sweep. Nothing new. You fall into line with the rest of your squad and start walking. Same trail, same curve past the rotted banyan tree, same weird divot in the road that everyone steps over without looking. Historians still debate whether the daily patrols in low-threat zones were effective deterrents or just busy work to keep soldiers from unravelling. But if you've ever been here truly here, you'd understand the walk is the mission. Movement keeps the ghosts at bay. You walk, step after step, every footfall tamping down the whisper in your head that says, what if today's the day? But you don't answer. You just shift your rifle strap and keep walking. Around noon you pause for water. You lean against a tree watching a lizard dart along a route. It freezes mid-motion and you do too. The silence stretches. Then someone sneezes. And the world doesn't end. So you keep going. The heat thickens again. Even the insects seem too tired to buzz. You swat a mosquito with the back of your hand and leave the smear of it there. No one notices. No one cares. That's just skin now. In the afternoon you make it back. No incident. No gunfire. No surprise. Just sweat, mud and silence. A success technically, but no one celebrates. They just scatter some to tents, some to smoke one guy to write a letter he'll probably throw away. You head to the makeshift showers, just a trickle of lukewarm water from a metal drum perched precariously above a curtain of canvas, but it's enough to rinse the worst off. You scrub your neck, your hands behind your ears. You feel human again, almost. Someone left soap. You use it. It smells like fake lemon. It's the best thing that's happened all day. Back at your cot, you lie down again, staring at the ceiling of the tent. The canvas breathes with the wind rising and falling like an old man's chest. You match it. Inhale, exhale, repeat. Dinner is rice and mystery meat. You eat it anyway. Your body needs the fuel. You sit with the same guys, say the same handful of things. You laugh at something about socks. You forget it 2 minutes later. Doesn't matter. You laughed. As the sun sets, and again, no real colours, just the fading of one grey into another, you feel the familiar tug of fatigue. It's not just physical. It's soul deep. Like you've carried too many hours in your bones. You look at your photo again, this time unfolding it. Just for a second. Just enough to remember. Then you fold it away. Safe. The night wraps around the camp like damp wool. Crickets. A distant thump. Someone snoring already. The moon is a blur behind cloud. The jungle hums. Not threatening tonight, just watching. You lie down. Not because you're done, but because the day is. And that's enough. You close your eyes. And maybe you let yourself drift. And now, the world around you begins to fade. Slowly. Quietly. Like mist rolling down the mountains, touching every leaf, every breath, and settling into silence. The night presses gently against the edges of your body, not to trap you, but to hold you. Like a hand on your shoulder, like a memory you can't quite name. The sounds soften, the hum of the fan, the hush of your own breath. The world doesn't need anything from you now, not decisions, not answers, just stillness. Let your shoulders drop, let your thoughts blur. You don't need to remember what came before. You don't need to prepare for what comes after. You are here, just here, and here is enough. Let the tension drain from your fingers, your jaw, your chest. Let the air around you wrap like warm linen, clean and quiet. A sky without colour, a sea without wave, a mind without question. You are not the soldier, not anymore. You are just breath and bone resting. Tomorrow can wait. Tonight you float.